All right. Well, welcome. Coach Deb is how she signed into Riverside, our recording platform. Welcome, Deborah. This is 50 Freedom Through Passions. I am excited to talk to you today. I got introduced to you through a mutual friend based in Vancouver, Canada. And we're going to get right into it. First of all, I want you to just give us a brief introduction of who you are, what you do, what you're passionate about, and we'll take it from there.
Thanks so much, Lynette. It's just a delight to meet you finally, and just to be here. I'm excited about our conversation because I think we are aligned in a lot of ways. What do you need to know about me? I'm a business and personal coach, and my focus really is on helping entrepreneurs to, specifically in the service-based sales of real estate, finance, and even some coaches, to create aligned and prosperous businesses that support their lives. So many people get into business thinking they want to create freedom for themselves. And this is what your whole thing is about, is helping people create freedom. And they go for that and they end up being the worst boss they've ever had. And they don't actually have freedom because then they end up working for their business. And my work in the world is to help people create a business that works for them and is profitable and prosperous, and defining that on their own terms. So I got into coaching really because I thought I was going to be helping people with productivity. And then I realized, oh, it's not about productivity. There's just so much more and so many more layers that we need to dig into to really create aligned and prosperous lives and businesses. And that's really what I'm about as a coach.
Awesome. Okay, well, let's jump right into it because there's a testimonial on your website that I want you to expand on. It was by one of your clients. She said that you, Deb, Coach Deb, are able to bridge spirituality and intuition with the logistics of running a business. So what specifically is this bridge that she's referring to, and why is it important?
Okay. So I describe myself as a coach. Like I think I'm quite unique, especially in the space of real estate and finance, which can be very, both of them are very masculine energy industries. And I don't mean men dominate, because actually a lot right now in both real estate and finance, like financial advisor, mortgage brokers, etc., women actually dominate in terms of numbers. But the energy is still very masculine because we have historically, these are masculine fields, male dominated fields. And so there's this real masculine energy of struggling and striving towards it. And women really struggle to not get caught up in that. And so when I was a realtor, by the way. So my background, I was a teacher for 15 years, with a high school English teacher. We'll tell more about that story later. And then I was a realtor for 6 years. And then I transitioned into coaching because actually I'm really a teacher. And though I did really well at real estate, I'm meant to teach and to support people in the way I'm currently doing. And but I found I got really caught up in that too, that real masculine energy, that drive of hustle, and these measurements for what success look like, right? I'm all about people being prosperous and making a lot of money, because I think people, especially women who have a lot of money, can do good work in the world. But when that's the only thing, like I set some really big goals for myself and I hit them and I thought, is this it? Because I was really in that whole movement of like achieve,
KPIs,
as opposed to
KPIs, like how do I measure? Yeah, ROI, the return on investment for everything. Yeah.
As opposed to being aligned with my true nature, with my spiritual gifts, with my zone of genius. In fact, I was 5 years into real estate. I'm like, okay, well, I've got this figured out now. Is this it? And then I had the biggest year I'd ever had. And I came across the book, The Big Leap by Dr. Gay Hendricks. And the central question he asks is, how much time are you spending in your zone of genius? And at first I thought, oh my God, I don't have a zone of genius. I'm not that special. And then I realized, oh, my genius is teaching. My genius is my ability to make high level connections. So one of the reasons I'm a great teacher, I was an English teacher. One of the reasons I'm a great teacher is that I'm able to help students see the connection between this word and this word. I'm an amazing coach because I do the same thing. A client will say something to me and then I'll make a connection for them that results in a breakthrough. I'm also a good coach because I have that big picture, and that translates in my ability to strategize. And so I'm highly strategic. But I've also heard one of my own coaches defined intuition in a way that I think really just pinpoints it in a way that I think we think of intuition generally as like airy fairy woo woo. It's kind of out there. It's like this thing. It's like maybe it's magical thinking. Maybe it's a thing. And more and more we have science is actually backing up that intuition actually is not just us making up stories in our head. We're actually making high level connections on an unconscious plane. So we can be aware of things that we haven't consciously processed. So when I talk about my ability to make high level connections, that is strategically in terms of the numbers in your business, because I'm highly strategic and I'm highly like practical as well. And I will make you do a profit plan. And then I will tell you about the vision I just had of you walking through a meadow. When you talk about, you're telling me you want peace. And literally this happened to me yesterday because a client was saying she wanted this to be your breakthrough year. And I'm like, yes, it's going to be your breakthrough year. We're about to re-enroll and work together. And she was, no, but I don't want to hit big goals. This isn't what I'm about breaking through. I'm like, oh no, I got you. I saw you breaking through this translucent membrane almost, and coming from this place of being kind of stuck into this vibrant meadow where things are alive and you're feeling peace, but you're also having this forward motion that doesn't require you hustling. And so that's what I think that client meant, is like, I'm able to see and interpret their desires and put them into language and metaphor and image for them so that they feel seen and heard, and they feel like, great, I can move into alignment because there's somebody else who sees this as possible for me as well. So.
And I think what you do, from what I just listened to you say there, is you sort of help them remove the fear. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, we know that it's fear that ends up holding us back, our inner critic, if you will, that ends up holding us back. And if they can hear from you this sort of, yes, okay, pragmatically, we need to do this strategy, but also I have this like soulful feeling for you that looks like this. And they're probably thinking themselves, okay, that's exactly what I'm thinking. That is what in flow means to me, or whatever. So yeah, so that's really interesting. That's awesome. So one of the things, as I was getting to sort of do my research about you, is I came across obviously your Instagram, but I came across a post that was really inspiring to me, because I wanted to ask you why. So it's a post that says, here's my Friday roundup of things that inspired me this week. Which one inspired you? But instead, what I want to know is, what was that moment that week that really made you feel this way? So the first quote is, a moment of gratitude is a celebration of life. So how does that apply to you that week, or to something that happened to you or one of your clients?
Yeah. Okay. Well, first of all, you can find me at Coach Deb Stell on Instagram for anybody who wants to look this up. It's Coach Deb Stell with Stell. But it's interesting. I've just started doing this Friday roundup recently because actually somebody else that I follow on Instagram doesn't do a roundup. She actually tends to put other people's quotes. And I have made it a practice to only put my own words out there for a really long time, because I didn't want to be somebody who just shared other people's stuff all the time. I wanted to make sure that I was developing my own voice. And so I was always sharing just my own voice. And recently I thought, this is kind of nice. I really enjoy that. I'm always checking that other person's posts. I'm like, maybe I can do this for people too. So that particular quote, like, I don't remember what I was feeling at the time, but I can tell you what it means for me now. I have been going through some pretty significant life events recently, and I'm actually somebody who, gratitude is a natural state of being for me. Like, I'm easily taking delight. I'll see the sun comes out. I'll see a little crocus coming up. My grandson will say something fun, something beautiful. I just got this new blanket on my sofa. This really plush, and I just like, that can give me so much delight.
Mhm.
But as I've been going through this season that I find myself in, sometimes I feel a little sad. There's a lot of
Mhm.
grief and that I'm processing. And so that was a reminder for me to come back to my center, come back to that, what for me is this automatic practice of gratitude that it's an overflow for me. And sometimes when we're sad or distracted, we can forget to do that thing that even is as natural as breathing for us. Like, I'm a really disciplined person. I eat well, I exercise, and sometimes even a disciplined person who has a habit of doing something, we can easily get bumped out of our habits by
Mhm.
just life happening to us. So
An
that was a
event of
reminder for
some.
me to like, remember that's who you are. That's who you
So,
are.
so living in a state of gratitude, I mean, we hear it 100 times, like almost a day, where it's like, live in a state of gratitude, because, and trust me, it'll work, it'll work, it'll work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's a lot of around manifestation first starts with just being in this state of gratitude. But why? Is it just more the mindset? Because
Mm.
like, we're, is that where, if you're always in a sort of state of gratitude, it might help with those moments, those events, those times where maybe you're not feeling that good?
Yeah, I think that it's all of that, right? It's like when we're in gratitude, we're open to everything, to joy, to peace, to delight. I like the word delight. I mean, I love to just like, even the word makes me happy, is that word delight. And that is for me, when I delight in something, that's an expression of gratitude for me,
Right.
is to allow myself to feel joy and delight. That is an expression of gratitude. And that's the vibration. Like when we're vibing high, literally, I mean, that's what we're vibrating at is how we're going to attract, right? If we're
Mm-hmm.
in a low vibe, we're going to attract. Now, that's not to say you can't be sad and still be successful, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can be sad about something that's going on in your life and still have enormous success, and know that you don't have to be like, Pollyanna happy and everything's fine and I'm going to just, you know pretend I'm grateful. It's not even about that. It's really this cultivation of, I actually like the term better, delight. Allowing yourself to
Right.
just to delight in the things that can bring you some pleasure, because I think that delight is an expression of gratitude. And
Yeah.
so when you are, whether you're practicing it, I've never done a gratitude journal. I hate that. I journal every
Mm-hmm.
day. I am not someone who can gratitude journal because I think it's, for me, it's so much in the moment. So we put a
Right.
lot of pressure on ourselves to do it in a certain way. And I think the important thing is to be really mindful and intentional about allowing yourself to feel those good feelings,
Mm-hmm.
because gratitude is about feeling good about what's in your life.
Exactly. And do you think that then when you talk about how you help your clients both from more of a soulful plus strategy perspective, do you think that sort of great gratitude and being more mindful and more sort of playful, if you will, allows you that space for intuition?
For sure. When I was in real estate, I mean, again, I did really well at it. I was in my zone of excellence. I was really, really, really good at it. But um, it just allows me to play and be creative with, like, I wouldn't want to do the kind of coaching where I couldn't say, oh, by the way, I just had a vision of you um, as a
Yeah.
white peony, right? I
Yeah.
mean, so like, I want to be able to say those things. I want to be able to say, this is coming up from me. And even as I'm saying it right now, Lynette, I'm going, past me is like, that's really weird that you're talking like this,
Right.
right? Because I wasn't always open. I've worked with
Yeah.
some really great coaches who've pulled that out of me, who've
Right.
made me, showed me the way that it was safe to actually explore this, that I
Yeah.
didn't have to prioritize the rational, because I'm highly
Yeah.
rational as well as intuitive.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and to be able to have that permission to explore the intuition and say, it's not that one is better than the other, but wow, if we can use both of these tools, isn't that great?
Yeah.
And to trust ourselves. So I don't actually spend a lot of time saying to my clients, you need to practice gratitude. One of the things I would say, I'm like, are you willing to increase the flow of positive energy in your life?
Right. Exactly. I
And
love that.
when we say yes to that question. So I have a series, every Wednesday I put out a wonder question, and it's like, I wonder, are you willing to increase the flow of positive energy in your life? And I started using that. It was an idea I got from the book, The Big Leap, because I was actually really low at the time that I came across that book. I was feeling kind of burnt out and depressed. And I'm like, I got to shift something here. So let's try this and see if it works. And I literally wrote that question in my planner and answered yes, underline, exclamation mark every day for probably 6 months. And it was so cool because I started noticing, I'm starting to feel more positive. I'm starting to feel better. And I think that's one of the ways we can practice gratitude without even being aware that's what we're doing, is that I'm increasing the flow of positive energy. I think whenever you answer a wonder question, I design them in such a way that like it's pretty hard to say no to them. You're actually giving your brain instructions. This is what we're doing. So if I say, yes, I'm willing to increase the flow of positive energy in my life, my brain will get on board and go, okay, let's find some ways to do that.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah. I love that. It's interesting as you're talking about that. I'm in the middle of one of my cohorts for my Passion and Profit Blueprint program, and we're about halfway through the foundational elements of going from idea to first client, designing their businesses, and I just intuitively I knew that they were starting to doubt themselves as reality started to come into play, and this sort of gremlin, I like to call it a bit of a gremlin, starts to appear in your mind, that inner critic. That what you're saying there is, stay in this state of playfulness, stay in this state of gratitude. And typically that will help sort of alleviate possibly some of those inner critics.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I think
the
you
next
have to address though. I mean, we don't want to bypass that. We want to say, what is that story? And is it actually true? Because
exactly.
you're right. I mean, you get to that stage where you're like, I have this idea and I'm so excited and I'm going to help people. But then when you start saying which actual person and you start really defining, they start becoming like real people to you. It can get like, oh my God, and now I might get rejected. So all of that comes up. So we have to deal with that, right? You can't just bypass it with positive feelings.
Exactly. And I think, as you're talking and as you just said that, one of the things I've realized is that if you are not clear on who you serve and the reason why you serve them, you will never build a fulfilling company, business, product, service, whatever you want to call it, that you're passionate about and that you love. You're going to start to hate it. And that's, we talked a little bit about this before we started recording, is if you're not doing something that you love, and you're going to run into all of this stuff that you're talking about, this sort of lack of gratitude, this lack of motivation, all these things that happen. So getting super clear on who you serve and why, I think, is the number one starting spot, I guess. So
well, and also I love the word service and staying really coming to understand, because we use that word, we throw it around like as coaches, we're like, we understand what it means to be in service. But as people are starting their business, I think they really need to learn what it means to be in service, because, and I have a podcast episode on this, which I forgot to mention in my intro. I'm the host of the Being Stellar podcast, right? Women who are people, not just women, who are wanting to expand into the fullest expression of themselves. To me, that's being stellar. Like, you're already stellar, right? If you're willing to just be yourself and be in harmony with the universe, you're already stellar. But I have a podcast episode on serving versus pleasing. And when entrepreneurs get started at any stage, so I mean, I have people come to me 10 years and they've been like trying to please their clients and be liked all the time, and they're really burnt out from that. So the earlier you can learn the distinction between pleasing and serving in your business, the more you're going to enjoy it, because then you're not attached. Like, pleasing is, I really want you to like me, and if you buy my product or service, it proves that you like me, and then I'm validated. Serving is, I have this product, I have this service, it's available, would you like some? And they say yes, and you go, great, let me help you. And they say no thank you, and you're like, okay, no problem, I'll go to somebody else. But in both states, it's neutral. Like, I'm just showing up to serve. And so when we really understand not just who you're serving, but what service actually means, I think that's really important.
Yeah, exactly. I can't get to the second quote because there's so much goodness here. So the conversation we had today as our cohort was exactly around that, like getting clear on who you serve and why, but what is the underlying reason they are using your service? And that's when you can, or product, because then that's when you can really get to the crux of your offer. Because you could just throw in, your ideal client, your target, your niche into ChatGPT, and it could come up with a million things that you could offer. And because you don't know exactly yet, you're like, okay, yeah, check. I'll do all these things. And that comes back to our conversation about, if you're not doing what you love in your business, you're never going to be that great at serving that person because, you just won't have that connection. And so what is the thing that you need to connect to with that person to ensure that you are in service? So that was the whole message today. And that was a real aha for me, because I think as you go through building a business, you forget what it was like to start. Right. And now I go back and I think about how much work I did do on identifying my ideal customer avatars. Is sort of a marketing term.
Yeah.
That's where I think the offer is so niche now. And I think this sort of sounds the same with you, where you have this intuitive side to you, this sort of medium side to you that you want to bring into your work. You just didn't know how to do it as a realtor, but now you're doing it as a coach, and you're creating this beautiful alignment between soul and strategy that I think helps people create better businesses.
Absolutely.
And run better businesses.
Yeah. And my clients would tell you that their lives are better, not just they're better businesses that are supporting the lives they want. And that's what's key, right? I mean, I'm a recovering perfectionist / workaholic, and I've created a life for myself where I love my business. I work hard in it, but it's easy. It's easy and it's easeful and spacious, and it feels really, it's really aligned. Like everything I do just feels good. And I'm at a stage of my business where I've been 5 years into this business now, where there's things I don't want to do. My VA does them for me because they're not my genius. So I let her do them. And so
then there's things that you absolutely don't even do. It's out of scope for your business.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So there's the things that you don't like to do in your business. So, but have to get done. So you use your virtual assistant, your VA for that, but then you get to focus on the real good things that are adding value and of being service. Okay. The second quote: the most certain way to succeed is always to try just one more time. Oh, how many times have we, like every listener out there has probably been, an inch away from success in something, but they gave up. So what is it about this quote that sort of, it was by Thomas Edison so I think everybody can get a clearer idea.
Right.
But
he was like, I don't know how many patents he had, like hundreds and hundreds, maybe even thousands of patents for his inventions. And he just kept trying to figure things out. And I always use Edison as an example with my clients who are like, especially if they're, anybody, but especially if they're team leaders, I always say, like, let's build in some Edison time. Because there's this myth that, I don't know if it's a myth or it's truth, that Edison used to go fishing every afternoon. And he wouldn't put any bait on the line because he wasn't fishing. He just wanted to have some quiet time, because there's this etiquette around fishing. You don't talk to each other because you'll scare the fish away. And so I'm like, let's build in Edison time for you as a leader, where you can just actually have space and time to be creative, because you actually have to set aside time for that. It doesn't just happen, especially if you're rushing from one thing to the next. So that the quote, what I liked about it, first of all, I love the Edison story, but I want to tie this actually back to the other thing of service too, because I always say when you're offering whatever it is you have, like most of the people that you and I work with are not offering life or death services. Like,
Correct.
Nobody's going to die. Nobody needs a coach. Like nobody needs either of us. Can we make their lives better? 100%. Like I know I make people's lives better. I know my life is better because of the coaches that I've worked with and continue to work with. And So, but what I say, so when you're in this place of service and you're just like offering, here's my service. Think of it as dessert. Like, I have this really amazing dessert. Would you like some? And if someone says no, if you're a server, literally a server, and someone says no to dessert, I always look at the menu and never say yes to dessert. I'm off sugar. So, but the server doesn't go to the kitchen and cry, they didn't want my dessert. Oh no, they don't like me. I'm a terrible, whatever. They go, okay, next. So really it's about staying in the game. And I have a podcast episode on this, I think. I talk about it all the time, is like, what does it mean to stay in the game and play to win? It means to connect and serve, continue to make offers, right? Two-step marketing plan that I tell my clients. Share what you do, make offers. That's what everybody does. Coca-Cola says, we have this bubbly brown drink that is full of sugar and will make your life amazing, according to their marketing. Do you want some? Like, that's it. And so we have to do the same. If we approach our marketing with the same feeling of like, share what I do, make offers, and figure out how to do that in a way that's aligned for you, then you just keep doing that. It's like, oh, that one didn't work. So if somebody says no, you don't go, oh, this isn't working. It's just that person didn't want what you have. Like last week, and that one I can tell you exactly what inspired me, because I had a couple conversations last week, and someone that I spoke to said, not now to working with me. And there was a no. And in the past, when I first started my business, that would have actually taken my confidence down. And it doesn't anymore because I'm so not attached to the outcome. And that was from the work of working with coaches to really change my mindset about, it's not about me if they don't want it. So really that was like, okay, next, keep going. Try again.
That's great. I love that. You just simplified it so well, just if they don't want it, then move on. It's not you, it's them kind of thing,
Yeah. You have chocolate cake and maybe they like apple pie.
Yeah.
Right. So
it just wasn't on the menu. Go find your apple pie somewhere else. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So this one here, interesting. Stay soft until it looks beautiful on you. What does that even mean?
Okay, I can tell you what it means to me. And I think it will resonate with a lot of women. I don't remember if this was when we were on recording or off, but we talked about the masculine energy in the real estate industry, but it's also just everywhere in the world. I mean, for thousands of years, women worked only inside the home. Or, well, that's the myth we have. That's the story we tell ourselves, actually. Post-war, World War II and 1950s. Because if you go back to 400 years ago, early modern England, which is where I studied my master's degree was in Shakespeare, so I studied a lot about that era. And actually, a lot of women had businesses. It's called cottage industry. So they ran bakeries or other businesses from their homes. So actually, we have this mass return to cottage industry right now where women are working from home. And, but up until, and then the Industrial Revolution changed that and women suddenly were kind of displaced. And then we had this like prosperity, at least in the West, where women started not having to work and staying home and taking care of kids. And even before then, I mean, the people who were working from home in 16th century were not the upper class. The upper class was already, women were just like decorative, learn to speak a whole bunch of languages and sew things and paint things and be accomplished, but you didn't work. And so that's been this ideal of striving not to work. So the business world was really set up for men and their 24-hour clock. As women, we're on a 28-day cycle. So we have days when we're like, we need a nap. And I have a lot of energy near the new moon, but on the full moon, I just want to go to sleep. And like, I know that we have a different flow. And what we've learned as women, when we're out there in the world that is created and designed for men, we have to man up. We have to armor up. And you don't cry at work. You don't show your emotions. Don't talk about, that monologue from America Ferrera in Barbie, in the Barbie movie, like she talks about like all the ways it's impossible. Like we're not to be feminine, but not too feminine. Don't like be thin, but not too thin. Like we armor up as women and get really hard. And I can tell you that I was really very much in my masculine energy of striving and hustling. Hustle culture is a masculine, and we all have the masculine and feminine. It's not, I'm not blaming men at all, but it's really this masculine energy of striving and achieving and proving. That's the unhealthy masculine. The unhealthy feminine is to be in victim mode, and but when we shift into the healthy masculine of confidence as opposed to striving, which is the unhealthy, we can harness that good quality masculine. But the healthy feminine is allowing a softness, allowing yourself to be supported. And for me, that was actually asking a coach to help me, allowing myself to be supported, not being the do-it-yourselfer perfectionist. I got it all really hard. So Paige will tell you, our mutual friend, she's mentioned it a few times to me. She goes, I've known her for years. And she goes, you're so different now. You're so chill. And I wasn't chill. I was always like, judging myself, judging other people. You weren't fast enough. You didn't answer you didn't do this right. Okay. So one last story, and then I'll let you ask the next question. But I had an email from somebody the other day. I sent out an email to my list that I was about to do a training. It was a really good training. It was Profit Planning 101. What realtors need to know to create successful, profitable businesses. I was doing it for the Real Estate Board of Vancouver, and I let my list know. And it was a really good training, if I do say so myself. That's my practical side, right? Profit planning, numbers, spreadsheets, Excel spreadsheets, everything. And I got a response from somebody who said, this looks like a really interesting training. Would have been more interesting if you hadn't misspelled friend. Because I actually start all my emails with, hi, friend. And I was like, that was just a typo. Right? But it was like, wow, you blocked yourself from receiving some really good training and support. Because I feel that was someone who's in her masculine energy of, and there's her negative energy of judging, right? She's so in her judgment of other people. Then I would have been crushed by that in the past. But now I look at it going, oh, this poor woman is so judgmental of herself. And that's what this is coming from.
Okay, hold on. Stop. I love everything you're saying that, because there's a situation I can rattle off right now with the exact same thing. And you know what? I also, in that situation, would have been a different response years ago, but now it's like, great, thank you for the feedback. Are you coming? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how does that apply though? I'm going to be just completely honest. Well, for sure, I'm a masculine energy. I know this. I already know it. And I do try to soften, but I don't even think I understand, even though you did describe, and I've asked questions and I've Google searched. I need like some specific examples of like, give me an example of what there could be something that's a masculine response. And then how would you respond like that in a feminine response? I'm putting you on the spot here, and if it's too hard, but the example you just gave there was very good. Like the masculine in you would have normally responded with, well, oh God, or I don't know, what would you, I don't know. How did you,
I think, that's a tough question, because I think that I can speak to we're always in it. Like we're always, especially those of us who have been high achievers, because really the masculine is all about achieving, right? We achieve from our masculine. We receive in the feminine. And so I think that for me, that's that distinction of being willing to receive support and soften and saying, I don't actually have it all figured out. And that's okay. It's coming from this place of real compassion and love for myself. And I'm learning all the time. I'm still like, I was in my mastermind call with I do a Friday mornings. I have a call with a group of, there's 4 of us coaches. We've met now together for almost 4 years. So in our mastermind, and we know each other really well. And, there are things that they know about me and that I open up with that I never would have shared before. Like early on in my journey as someone who hired coaches, I didn't actually really fully reveal myself. right? And I would never allow myself to be vulnerable in a group coach. I never did group coaching because I was like, ew, like what are the people, they don't have it all together. And I'm like, I have it all figured out. I'm good. And I wouldn't share my emotions. So I think there's just that softening of like, yeah, I'm human. And I responded to that person. Actually, I love that response. I should have said that. It's like, I would do it in the future if it ever happens again. Oh, are you coming? Oh, thanks for pointing out my typo. I just said to her, typing is not my superpower. Made a typo. Thanks for pointing it out. Thanks for catching that. You found me out that typing's not my superpower. And MailChimp doesn't do autocorrect, clearly, but I like the idea of like, oh, are you coming? And just and really loving. And I think that in the feminine, we are nurturing. I think we all have that, men and women. The feminine is more nurturing. So when we are nurturing ourselves, and that's the key, I think, of being in our feminine is self-nurture. Because we can be in nurturing of others, but not ourselves. That doesn't put us really in our feminine. I think that puts us in our unhealthy feminine because we're trying to please others and keep ourselves safe by keeping them happy as opposed to taking care of ourselves. I'm exploring with this idea of queen energy right now. Like, what does it mean to me to be not just the feminine, but the queen, like the feminine who really, really stands in her power and is compassionate with herself?
I love that. And I think you should explore that and create a course on that, because when you said that, I get that. And I don't know if it's because right when you said queen, I went to drag queen. And the reason why I went to drag queen is because you said, I stand with confidence and power. And that's every freaking drag queen out there is that persona. So it's really interesting.
Because those are men. I mean, drag queens are men who've tapped into the feminine power unapologetically. Whereas women, we've had to apologize for that power. We've been burned at the stake for that power. So of course we're a little bit shy to show it, right? So, and we're coming into it. This past summer, the top 2 highest grossing films and concerts, Beyonce and Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
We see it, this rise of the feminine queen energy of power that's showing us the way. So I think we're all called on to explore that. So I really think that would be how I would sum that up as a distinction. If I'm in my queen energy, I'm in the healthy masculine of confidence, as opposed to the unhealthy masculine of trying to prove and strive and achieve.
Right. Yeah. No, I love that. That's excellent. Okay. So the next one is, when in doubt, just do the most loving thing. And when I read that, I know what I interpreted that as for me, but I want to hear what it interpreted for you.
Well, and that's why I share those two, because I know it's going to land differently with everybody, right? Yeah. That's the nature of language, is that we experience reality through the language that we have and through the subject position. So I'm talking like an English academic right now, but your subject position is where you happen to be in any given time, how you're looking at things. So my subject position right now is influenced by the experiences that I've had and the experiences that I'm currently having. So anything I read or see is going to come through that. So the woman we talked about before, she's in judging, she's stressed out probably. So she's going to, and she's so afraid of making mistakes that she's going to find other people's mistakes and she's going to judge them for it, which she doesn't realize is ricocheting back to her. But so that's why in the past, I would have been like, flipping her for those of you who aren't watching the video part of this, I would have put my middle fingers up at her, right? I would have said, fuck you. And
give the bird.
Right. And I would have been really hurt, but I would have been really hurt, and I might have just ignored it. Or I never would have actually said to her, F you, because that's not who I am, but I would have felt it. Whereas now I was like, oh, what's the most loving interpretation of this? Is like, she's wounded. Because hurt people hurt people. Hurt people will lash out in those ways. I'm like, one of the things I pride myself on as a coach is like, I'm really into efficiency. I want to make things super efficient for my clients. So we get systems in place. We make it so like you can spend less time doing something. Like, I know how long things take. And I know how long it takes to put my mascara on in the morning, because I calculated, do I want false lashes or do I want to, and I'm like calculating the payoff of like laying for 3 hours on a table to get false lashes, or putting my mascara on every day. Like that's the degree like I'm in about efficiency. So I'm thinking, sweetie, did you have nothing better to do than take that however many minutes to send that email?
Hmm.
Like, what a waste of
Exactly.
your time. So I just like really just blasted her with some love. I don't even know who it is. I'm just like, send this woman some love because she's clearly hurting. Because
Hmm.
otherwise she wouldn't have sent an email like that.
Yeah.
It's also, what's the most loving thing you can do for yourself? And my mastermind friends reminded me of that this morning because I can be really hard on myself. As I said, I'm a recovering perfectionist. And as coaches, you know this, Lynette, we have this unique position of like, we have all these tools, we should know better.
Hmm.
And so we can be really hard on ourselves when we have this like discovery of like, oh, interesting. That old childhood trauma is playing out in this pattern. I should be able to
Right.
fix this, right? And I
Right.
should know better. And I can tend to be hard on myself. So my friends reminded me this morning, what's the most loving thing I can do
You do.
for myself
Yeah.
and for others? Yeah.
No, I love it. I love it. And that's wonderful. And then I think that all sort of ties into this whole vein of masculine and feminine
Yeah.
energy too. So Deb, when you first left real estate and went and decided that you were going to become this coach,
Mm.
let's talk a little bit about that journey. Not
Mm.
necessarily what you were doing, but more about what were you thinking and
Oh gosh.
feeling when you were starting your business, because I mean, ultimately, my hope is that people who are listening to this podcast are getting
Mm.
inspiration and thinking, well, if she
Yeah,
can do it, I can do it. Or, God, that sounds like
absolutely.
me. And so, I mean, it's, even though you knew you loved being a teacher and you
Yeah.
love doing certain teaching people, and you
Mm.
have this, soulful side of you that you knew you wanted to sort of bring out,
Yeah.
there is always going to be this level
Oh my
of
gosh.
what
Yeah.
in the fuck am I thinking I'm
Yep.
doing, kind of thing. So take us through that journey, thinking
Oh,
and
yeah.
feeling.
Well, then there's two stages to this journey that got me here. One, I was teaching and perfectly happy with it. I loved it. I taught high school English, international baccalaureate. I was department head. I was top of my game. I was training other teachers to be teachers. I was really, really good at it and so satisfied. And I'm one of those odd people who thinks teenagers are fascinating. I love teenagers because they're just like on the verge of becoming who they're going to be. Now they soon learn that they're always on the verge of becoming, but right then they're aware of it for the first time in their life. They're making these decisions about what am I going to be when I grow up? And we're all always in that stage of making those decisions. And I had started to think, wow, I could do anything. As I'm telling the kids, you can do anything. I'm starting to think I could also do anything. But I was really also very happy with what I was doing. If you had said to me, we'll give you $1 million, but you still need to work. I said, okay, I'll just teach half a day then, because it's a lot of work. And I'm actually really happy I'm not a teacher right now because it's tough being a teacher.
Yeah.
During COVID, post COVID, just the things they're dealing with, I'm really glad I'm out of it. But I had no intention of leaving teaching, but I was in a minor car accident and I have soft tissue damage on the right clavicle, which is like the collarbone from the seatbelt. We were rear ended. The guy didn't notice that the light had changed. We were stopped. My daughter was driving. We were stopped. And this guy was changing lanes because people in front of him were slowing down. He didn't clue in that the lights had changed and that's why people were slowing down. So he hit us full speed. And I was okay, but I'm like, something feels really off. And
Mm.
long story short, I ended up being in chronic pain and I just couldn't get it to go away. I was doing all the things. And when I realized 2 years of dealing with this, and I'm getting kind of grumpy, and other people's kids are annoying when you're in pain all the time, even the ones I
Mm-hmm.
liked.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to be that teacher who
Yeah.
didn't like the kids because we've all had one of those.
Yeah.
And I was like, I realized when I'm not marking, I'm okay. Because it was actually the handwriting. Even now, it's been 12 years since that accident. Even now, actually, no, it's been 14 years since that accident. And even now, once in a while, if I do too much handwriting or do some other kind of thing, it will flare up.
Okay.
I'm mostly fine. But then, so I was like, okay, I got to do something. My husband was like, I'm afraid you're going to die from this stress. You've got to do something. And a couple months before the accident happened, and this is the way the universe works. So I want you ladies and gentlemen who are listening, listen to how the universe is going to give you clues. Because I'm like, I know today I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, and I am fulfilling my highest purpose on this planet. But I never would have left teaching to become a coach. In fact, it was weird to me, this whole idea of coaching. And so I got bumped with this car accident, right? But right before the car accident happened, we'd moved and sold house, and our realtor said to me, "You should go into real estate. You'd be really good at it." I'm like, "No, thank you. I just finished a master's degree and I love my job. So I'm good." But then 2 years on, I'm like, my husband's like, "I'm afraid you're going to die. We need to make a change. You need to change something." And I'm like, "You're being melodramatic, but okay, I'll look into it." And actually, when I left teaching, I realized, oh, he was right. I didn't realize how much the stress of, managing the pain plus the stress of the job. It's a stressful job, even if you love it. And so, and by the way, if you're thinking about going to teaching, if you don't absolutely love it and feel like it's the only thing you can possibly do, don't do it. It's not worth it to do it for the holidays. So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then I met with our realtor and I said, "Hey, what about this real estate thing?" So went down that path. When I announced to my staff, my school, that I was leaving, I was terrified. I had to tell them before spring break because you have to give your intention for the next year. And I remember just feeling this feeling of terror, like I was free falling. I had to finish my year as a teacher, but I couldn't really start real estate. I was working on the course and just feeling absolutely terrified. And I remember preparing myself though, because some people there's always going to be a change back attack when you try to change anything in your life.
Yeah.
Because people will take it as a criticism of what they're doing if you don't want to do what they're doing anymore, or they will be worried about you because they're afraid. So they're going to project their fear onto you. And I knew that was going to happen. So I was prepared for it. I was like, if people said to me, "Ooh, real estate, that's really competitive." Like I knew I was going to get that kind of comment. And so my response was simply, "Well, then you shouldn't do it, but I'm going to." Because I knew I wasn't going to be in competition with anybody but myself. Like I had that inner knowing that I was the only person I was going to be in competition with. So I wasn't actually worried about the fact there was a bunch of other realtors out there, because I had that knowing, and I'm really fortunate I had that knowing because it helped me a lot. So know that, like, you're not in competition with anybody but yourself. There's room for everybody in the marketplace, whether you're a realtor, whether you're a coach. There's room for everybody because we're all unique.
Right. Yeah, that's really interesting you said that, because even if you feel that the market is oversaturated, it's actually really good, because then you don't have to do the uphill battle of convincing anybody that, your offer is relevant. It's just how you deliver it. Like, I keep going back to you, where you've got this sort of soulful, sort of yin and yang of soulfulness to, the practicalities of budgeting and all that as well.
So I went into real estate, proved my realtor right. I was really good at it. Hired a coach almost immediately, because at first I was like, "Oh, I don't know. I'm not making any money yet. Should I hire a coach?" And my mom gave me great advice. So if you're on the fence about hiring a coach, keep this in mind. She said to me, "You invested in your first career. Why wouldn't you invest in this?" True. I had a massive student loan debt after my undergrad, and then I paid another $12,000 for a master's degree. So probably I'm into my education for about $50,000. And so it's like, and then not to mention, I'm over a couple $100,000 into coaching now. But why wouldn't you invest in this? If you were going to become a doctor, a teacher, lawyer, anything, you would get educated. And so coaching is what helps people grow businesses. It's like educating yourself for your business. So I hired a coach very soon with real estate to help me learn how to do this real estate thing, because it's different than teaching, obviously. And that really helped me. But I got really also caught up in this whole like metric, and it was a really great real estate coaching company, but very led by men. Awesome group. I've learned so much from them, but really masculine energy of like, okay, let's set our targets higher, like KPIs, all of that, right? And reach the goal. And I did all that, and I'm like, oh, this was somebody else's idea of success, because I'm not really enjoying this very much. I also wasn't very satisfied, because I'm used to talking to people all day long, and even in my busiest months and my busiest years in real estate, I wasn't getting the kind of interaction you would get as a teacher. Like as a teacher, I was like, as a teacher and an extreme extrovert, having like opportunities to have interactions all day long with people just filled me up. And so I wasn't getting enough of that opportunity to teach. And I started doing things like leading networking groups, and I was leading kind of coachy type things that I was doing to kind of bring them together. And people kept saying to me, you really should be a coach, because I was mentoring people too. I'm like, nope, not doing it, not starting another business, no. And then actually backtrack a little bit too, when I left teaching and I went into real estate, I started networking and getting to know people because I knew I needed to grow my network. And I met a woman who introduced herself as a life coach, and I was like, the heck is that? Can't people take care of their own lives?
Yeah.
And that was my attitude. That was me very much in my do-it-yourself, masculine energy, armored up kind of mode. The irony is that I reconnected with that same coach about 8 years later. She was an assistant at the training I was taking for coaching. And I ended up working with her for 2 years. And she was my mentor coach who I apprenticed under. And the reason that I'm the great coach that I am today is because I worked with her. Yeah, and, that's great. She changed my life. And I get shivers just thinking about it. I just thank you, Michaela. And it was just that journey of like, coaching kept kind of coming at me, and I was like, what the heck is this? And I met a lot of people. Like, coaching has a bad rap because there's a lot of people who've met coaches and are like, ooh, you don't have your shit together, I'm not going to work with you. And what I learned through my coach training, and Lynette, you can probably second this, is that there's a lot of really great coaches out there who just suck at the business of coaching. And so they end up sliming people and getting really salesy because they don't know how to really just say, here, I've got some dessert. Do you want some? And that's one of the things that I do actually is I do a lot of sales training because I'm an English teacher, and really sales is all about how you use language. Right. So it's evolved. And so that's how I ended up. I thought I was going to just be a real estate coach for this real estate coaching company. And then as I started to uncover like, oh, I have this incredible intuition, and I have this ability to bring all of these things to the table. I'm like, I'm not going to be a good fit for their clientele. I'm going to do this on my own. And I'm a bit of a do-it-yourselfer too. Like, I really like that independence. And so it soon became from, I'm going to do real estate and do coaching off the side of my desk to satisfy that need to do that, to like, oh, I'm leaving that behind. I'm going to light a match and just blow that whole thing up and just grow this business. And just to put context for your audience, I was 45 when I started real estate, and I was 52 when I started my coaching business.
Yeah, no, that's great. And, it's interesting because everything you just said there is a very common theme that is in my podcast with my guests, is that just get started down the path and the rest of it will show up. And so you got started down this path of real estate. You start, you didn't go, oh, and then I'm going to do this and this and this after. It's just, and then you just went in flow and realized this wasn't living my purpose,
Well, and the advice that I give people too is like, I went into real estate because somebody else said, hey, you'd be good at it. And I didn't know what else to do. Like I had to grieve the loss of my teaching career.
Right.
And because I really did love that. And that all came up in the settlement and everything. I really did love that. I had to grieve that. So I went into real estate because I didn't know what else to do. If I had to do it over again, I would do the same thing, because I am the awesome business coach I am because of that time in real estate and in business. And I really learned sales, and I learned leadership. I learned all those things that make me great at what I do now. But I did what I wouldn't recommend other people do. Check and make sure this is your zone of genius before you go down this path.
Yeah.
Because remember I said I didn't want to start another business. When people say you should be a coach, I'm like, oh, I am too exhausted. I can't start another business. This would have been too hard. And what actually happened was, it's been really easy for me to start and grow this business because I'm fully in my zone of genius. Real estate, I was in my zone of excellence. So I was really striving and struggling and pushing it up, sort of an uphill battle. Was when you're in your zone of genius, it's easy. Like literally, I announced I was coaching and people go, of course you are. Where do I sign up? Like it was that easy for me.
That's great. And that's really interesting you're saying that, because we did have that conversation today in my group, was around this whole thing. Like this whole conversation is so timely because it was, if you're not doing what you love, you're going to feel like it's swimming upstream. And the minute you feel like you're swimming upstream is where you're not in this zone of genius, as you're saying, because it should feel easy. It's not going to be easy,
Yeah.
but it should feel easy, that you're okay with dealing with those hard things, because if everything was super easy, well then, it's just not going to happen. But
that's why I use the word easeful. It's not easy. You're going to have to work hard, but it can be easeful, like full of ease for you. Like it is.
Exactly.
I work hard. I got a lot of things going on behind the scenes, and I've got lots of moving parts right now. And I'm like, I sit back sometimes and look like, this is really easeful. This is really spacious. So yeah.
Well, Deb, you shared some excellent points. So if somebody wanted to get better alignment with themselves and their businesses, where do they find you? Let's just do a recap there. Your website.
Yeah. So you can find me on my website is deborahstellingwerff.com. That's a tough one to spell. So you can also just go to stellarlifeproject.com. It's a little easier to remember the spelling. Stellarlifeproject.com. It was the original name of my coaching business before I kind of got, again, as we do, we get clarity as we grow up as business people.
Exactly.
And my new academy and my business now is called Aligned and Prosperous Coaching Inc. You can also go to Aligned and Prosperous and it will take you to my website, but again, it's a longer one. And then find me on all of the social media platforms under the handle at Coach Deb Stell.
Stell.
Yeah. And if you go to my website, there's a place to contact me and book a chat and see how you can work with me. And,
I saw that, the free consultation, a consultation for half an hour.
Yeah.
Deb, thank you so much. I am so grateful for Paige for introducing us. You were perfect guest for today. It just was the whole conversation was aligned to everything that was happening in my world. So thank you for sharing. And I hope to chat with you soon.
Thank you. Isn't it amazing how the universe works?
Isn't it though?
Yeah.